Evet efendim. Öncelikle afiyet olsun.
Firstly, I'd like to wish you a good appetite. It will be very difficult to concentrate after the meal, but we have got great speakers on this panel, and it's going to be a very informative panel. Our main topic is that we are going back to the real world. What is real world? Real world is the manufacturing industry, the real world. The pandemic showed us that the distance is a problem. Physical production showed us very effectively that the wars and the custom walls, tariff economies, protective economies, and a multipolar world put all these problems on top of one another. And we need energy, and we need the physical products. Without them, the software, sales network, service, post-sales services become meaningless without having the physical product or the energy to produce it. The house we are going to live in, the hospital we are going to visit, lighting the living spaces, heating, the dresses that we put on, everything is physically needed, including the machinery to produce these goods. In service sector and in service sector, the real economy withdrawn from the scenes for a while. But we have been shown by the crisis that we need the real economy, and it is possible to see that there is a shift towards the real economy. We are going to be talking about these issues. Distinguished audience, I'd like to introduce the panel. We have got quite competent panelists here. I'd like to leave the floor to them one by one. Firstly, I'd like to present you İzzet Ekmekçibaşı. He is the chairperson of the Foreign Economic Relations, and he is the chairman of the Commission of Turkey-Russia Business Council. And he is very knowledgeable on many projects between Turkey and Russia. Particularly, he has undersigned many construction projects, many contract work. He has completed many contract works, and he is going to talk about what we can accomplish and how we can reach to our 500 billion US dollar export objective.
Well, I would like to thank you so much. It's a great pleasure and honor to be on the same panel with distinguished panelists. Well, if you allow me, before I start my speech, very briefly, I would like to share a few things with you. So in 1985, DEİK was established, and for 4 decades, it has been making a contribution to the foreign relations of the Turkish economy, which is featuring very leading Turkish companies as members, and the activities are based on the volunteering and the compass of being the compass of the Turkish community. So it's 153 different business lines represented in DEİK. 145 of them are based on countries like Turkey, Russia, Turkey, USA. At the end of the evening, 1991, DEİK Russia Business Council was established. And regarding the business opportunities, it debriefs the business community, and it tries to make a contribution to the increase of the business activities between 2 countries, as well as organizing business fora, bilateral meetings, webinars, seminars, different workshops, as well as conferences. And on a regular basis, it has the steering committee meetings where the members come together, where they discuss different challenges and possible solutions. So by this opportunity, for Verona Eurasia Economic Forum with Rose, they contacted upon the contact of Rose Business Association. They led the way, and also in terms of the business cooperation summit, we are still holding talks. Well, Turkey and Russia, both in terms of history and in terms of economic cooperation, it has been 2 countries, has been friends for so many long years. As we heard from Erdem Bey, the real sector in terms of manufacturing, production, and in the field of energy and production, very briefly, I would like to talk about the impacts with a perspective of the commercial relationships between Turkey and Russia. So what has been the past about and what are the business opportunities? So for real industry, for the real sector to play a leading role is an indispensable thing, as we see from the global economy. Because without production, the service industry cannot feed us or cannot put a clothes on us. Without the energy, we can't think of the modern world. So strategically located countries such as Turkey and Russia. So between these two countries, the energy and economic cooperation is a robust indication of the collaboration between these countries. So the relationship between two countries date back to Soviet Union. In 1994, in terms of the shipment of natural gas, there was an intergovernmental organization, and starting from 1987, the purchase of natural gas started. And then between Dotash and Gaz Export, there was a natural gas buying and selling agreement which was signed in 1997 with Blue line. We have the natural gas, we have the Blue Stream natural gas, which has been shipped. And right at the moment, we have the two giant projects, which is again offering the supply between Russia and Turkey. Starting from Russia, going underneath the Black Sea, and from Kıyıköy on the shore of Black Sea to Kırklareli. So it has been operational since 2020. The Turk Stream natural gas pipeline is very pivotal. The project not only strengthens our energy security, but also creates an alternative supply corridor to Europe. With the Akkuyu nuclear power plant, our cooperation in the energy sector has reached a truly strategical level. Construction work is being carried out under the leadership of Rosatom, and the first reactor of the nuclear power plant, which is expected to have an installed capacity of 4.8 gigawatts, is planned to be commissioned by the end of this year. When all 4 units are operating at full capacity by 2028, the plant is expected to generate 35 billion kilowatt hours of electricity per year, meeting approximately 10% of our current electricity needs. With a total investment cost exceeding $20 billion, this project is Russia's largest direct investment in Turkey. For example, Turkish companies are leaders in the manufacturing industry in the Republic of Tatarstan. Projects such as glass, auto parts, and seat production, welding, wire factories, wood panel, and beer production facilities have been implemented here. And also I also would like to note that on the production side, Turkish investments exist in Russia in the fields of textile, banking, tourism, food manufacturing, white goods, machinery, glass industry, and contracting construction materials. Likewise, in Bashkortostan, glass products, beer and crane production are prominent. In Kaluga, women's hygiene products are manufactured. In Kostroma region, the machinery industry are at the forefront. 1 in every 5 cranes produced in Russia comes from this region. Turkish companies are also very much active in forestry products and energy infrastructure investments. And we also have to know Turkish-owned banks. The total value of projects undertaken by Turkish contractors in Russia exceeds $65 billion. Russia's investment in Turkey, excluding the Akkuyu nuclear power, amount to around $7 billion. And investments include the one assembly line in Sakarya, Turkey's first maleic anhydride production facility in Gebze, industrial shelving production in Izmir, petrol stations across Turkey, Lukoil and Aytemiz, hotel investments in the tourism sector, and small-scale production facilities in the food industry. So, what can be done to increase cooperation in these areas? As you know, our presidents have set a bilateral trade volume target of $100 billion. It is possible to reach this figure through joint projects and direct investments, in addition to mutual imports and exports. For joint projects and direct investments, a stable investment environment, simplification of bureaucratic procedures for investors, simplification of customs procedures, and the establishment of R&D centers to encourage innovative projects in particular are important. In the energy sector, joint renewable projects could be considered to accelerate the transition to green energy. Finally, cooperation in the field of education is very important. Currently, Turkish students are studying in Russia in the fields of mechanical and nuclear energy. Developing cooperation between Turkish and Russian universities in engineering programs, organizing joint research programs, and student exchange programs is significant in terms of training qualified staff. These steps will definitely elevate both countries to global leadership through the rise of the real sector.
Ticaret hacmi Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımız Recep Tayyip Erdoğan.
Well, the target is a trade volume of $100 billion, and this is a visionary figure set by our President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan and the Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2018. In 2022, our trade volume exceeded $68 billion, and in 2024, our trade volume with Russia reached $53 billion. Although our main area of cooperation is energy, we need to expand into other areas to reach $100 billion. Firstly, agriculture and food, which are not subject to sanctions. Russia is Turkey's #1 market for fresh fruit and vegetables, and it would be beneficial to diversify food products and increase exports of high value-added processed food products with the support of cold chain logistics. Secondly, tourism and the service sector. Turkey is one of Russia's most important holiday destinations. The target is for the number of Russian tourists visiting Turkey to exceed 7 million by the end of 2025. However, the volume could be increased further by diversifying tourism, health tourism, faith and yacht tourism. Thirdly, construction and infrastructure. To date, approximately 1/5 of the Turkish construction sector's overseas project portfolio, worth over $400 billion, consists of Russia-based projects. Many of Russia's landmark projects bear the signature of Turkish construction companies. Today, there are numerous infrastructure construction and renovation projects in Russia as well. We consider it important for Turkish companies to be involved in these projects. We can transfer the experience gained over the years of cooperation between Turkish and Russian construction companies to third countries and participate in tenders by establishing joint consortia in Central Asia and Africa. Fourthly, technology and digital economy. Fifthly, logistics and transport supply chains need to be strengthened. Finally, it would be beneficial to minimize foreign exchange risk through trade in local currencies. The biggest factor in increasing trade volume will be the easing of the international environment. We are all closely following developments and hope that peace will be instated as soon as possible. I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the organization of the Verona Eurasia Economic Forum. Thank you. Well, we would like to thank Mr. İzzet Ekmekçibaşı for the information he has furnished us with. And I think as a result of all these studies exceeding $1 million, now let me hand over to our next speaker, Mr. Fallico, and we would like to listen the Turkish and Russian relations. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I will also focus on economic and trade relations between Russia and Turkey. I will not repeat all the facts already mentioned, but I wanted to add some details that I believe are important. At the end of 2024, Turkey was the third trade partner of Russia after China and India, which proves the great importance that the Turkish economy has for Russia, and Russia was the second trade partner for Turkey. And as we've heard, the interchange rounds about $150 billion, and so they have great goals, but they can be achieved. However, I would like to underline what is the exchange between the two countries. Right now, Russia exports towards Turkey natural resources, cereals, and iron and steel for about $44 billion. Turkey exports textiles and building materials, among other products. And after 2022, Turkish companies have been able to conquer more space for themselves and have taken over the space left open by European and US competitors that had to stop trading with Russia. I also wanted to add something about tourism, which is an important economic and growth factor for Turkey. I found a figure mentioned by the Association of Russian Tour Operators. There are 7 billion tourists from Russia coming to spend time in Turkey, and maybe my Turkish colleagues can correct this if it's not right. And on average, one tourist will spend about $1,000. So there are, say, $6.5 billion profits from tourism, which means more than $10 billion a year, which is a very important figure. And let me also underline the factors stimulating this important relations in economic and trade terms between Turkey and Russia. So already in 2019, these two countries signed an agreement, first of all, to increase the number of transactions in national currencies, and they had agreed the use of the Mir bank system in the Turkish financial system. And there have been pressure from the Treasury Department of the US, which made it impossible to use cards, Russian credit cards. But the willingness to keep on cooperating found a solution to this problem. And so right now, a Russian tourist coming to Turkey and not willing to buy euros or dollars to pay for their expenses in Turkey. So a tourist can use a system, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce it correctly, the Letim system, which is linked to the Troy system in Turkey. Therefore, the Russian currency is immediately translated into Turkish liras that can be spent directly in Turkey. And so this is a way to bypass the restrictions to the MIR system. And there's also the aspect of direct investment from Turkey into Russia and from Russia into Turkey. Of course, I'll ask for my Turkish colleagues to confirm, but according to the information I've found, up to date, there have been $12 billion in investment in Russia. 2.5 billion coming from the Tatarstan Republic, also for religious reasons, because the Republic is has very close ties with Turkey. And as I mentioned earlier, the main advantages for direct investment from Turkey in Russia are based on the fact that European and US companies are no longer investing in Russia. Floretailing, for example, is one of the main distributors in Russia. It has acquired distribution channels of European and US brands that I will not mention so as not to advertise them. And again, apologizing for the pronunciation, Holding has invested $250 million in the production of household appliance. Hi-Hat Holding has $300 billion investments in plants producing hygiene products. And Hanta Yapi has invested more than $400 million in the building and construction sector. So these are investments that are already there, but they could also grow thanks to stronger economic ties. I've also found another interesting figure. So again, I'm asking for our moderator to confirm this. It is estimated that there are more than 2,000 enterprises, small and medium and large enterprises from Russia that are active in Turkey, which is an important figure again. And another interesting statistics is confirmed by the Turkish Data Institute. In 2024, 3,200 houses were sold in Turkey to Russian buyers. And in 2023, there were 8,000 houses sold. So Russia is highly interested in the real estate market in Turkey. And I will not repeat what has already been said in about Hakuyo figures, but investments more than $20 million investments on the power plant. I would just like to highlight one point that will show the importance of this kind of investment for an economy. The contribution to the Turkish GDP is estimated about $50 million over the life of the power plant. And I will close with this, just conveying the most important and main message. That is to say, despite the fact that Turkey and Russia may have different stands in geopolitical terms, despite that, the business diplomacy can always find a common language that can help the people living in the two countries. Thank you.
Sayın Fallico'ya verdiği bilgiler için teşekkür ediyorum. Verdiği bütün
We would like to thank you so much. All of the statistics that you provided are accurate. Congratulations, by the way. And of course, on top of the existing investment quantity, when you add the other transactions, I think it's reaching a significant portion. But regarding the trade relationships between Turkey and Russia, it's still not favoring. It's something rather which is not favoring Turkey. And I would like to now give the floor to Miss Melisa Tokgoz Mutlu, board member of Turkish Importers. And she's the only single team, and she's the only single member. Give her a round of applause, please, because indeed that's something to celebrate. Well, all of us are rather concerned regarding food. Well, food is one of the most critical aspects, and at the end of the day, we all need to feed ourselves. And regarding the trade relationships between Russia and Turkey, in order to increase the export, what we can do, so in terms of the president of team, what we could do.
Chiesto di parlare in inglese, perciò comincio a parlare in inglese, ma sono
I've been asked to speak in English. I'm very happy to be here today, and I will continue in English. Welcome to you all.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm very happy to be here on behalf of TİM. Let me explain you firstly who is TİM. TİM is Turkey Exporter Assembly, is the umbrella organization representing more than the 150,000 Turkish exporters from 27 sectors and the 61 exporters associations. Founded in 1993, TİM plays a key role in shaping the Turkey's export policies and changing the market diversity and strengthening the global competitiveness of Turkish exporters. TİM hosts various specialized boards such as the Agriculture Board, TİM Tarım Kurulu, which organize activities, collaborations and publish reports to support development in their respective fields. Through these boards, TİM fosters cooperation among industry stakeholders, conducts research, and contributes to policy formation. Its main mission is to achieve a Turkey with a trade surplus by promoting sustainable foreign trade and fostering collaboration between the public and the private sectors. In addition, TİM supports innovation and entrepreneurship throughout the programs such as InnoSuite program, TİM Tap Global Houses, which help companies and startups expand internationally. Acting as a bridge between the government and the exporters, TİM continues to contribute significantly to Turkey's economic growth and global trade presence. And after having the information about the TİM, let's talk about the real sector for us, which is agriculture and food. Today, food is not a discussion, or agriculture is not just a discussion about the crops or market. It's a conversation about the future of humanity itself. By the year 2050, our planet will host nearly 10 billion people. That means we must produce around 50% more food than what we do today. Yet our freshwater reserves are shrinking, our climate is becoming harsher, and our soils are losing their strength year by year. So the question is no longer how to produce more, but how to produce more wisely, more sustainably, and more fairly. Agriculture is in transforming form. For generations, farmers looked to the sky for rain, to the soil for answers. But today, they also look to data, technology, and innovation. Across the world, farmers use satellite data to plan harvest, sensors to manage irrigation, and artificial intelligence to predict weather and optimize yields. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, nearly one out every 3 farms already uses digital technology. But is it enough? And that number will more than double within the next decade. This tells us something simple yet profound. The future of farming will depend not only on soil and the sunlight, but also on knowledge, awareness, and responsibility. Because the future of food will depend not only how much we grow, but how wisely we grow it. In this new era, 3 countries, Turkey, Russia, and Italy, stand out as natural partners. Each brings something vital. Russia is a global leader in grain, fertilizers, and energy, as the other speakers mentioned, the foundation of global food supply. Turkey is a strategic bridge between the continents, rich in production, processing, and logistics. Italy is a pioneer in technology, innovation, and branding, turning quality into global identity. Together, these nations can form what may call Eurasia Food Corridor, a corridor not just of products, but of knowledge, innovation, and trust. In 2024, Turkey's exports reached $8.6 billion to Russia and $30 million to Italy, numbers that reflect a partnership already in motion. But this corridor is not just about the trade. It's about the shared purpose, mutual strength. We live in a time when many nations are turning inward. Borders tighten, trade barriers rise, competition grows competition is getting more and more difficult every day. But the climate crisis reminds us one of the universal truths. No nation can face these challenges alone. Water, air, and soil do not carry a passport. When one country struggles with the drought, another feels its economic shock. So rather than competing in isolation, we must learn to collaborate with intention. Rather than exploiting each other's weaknesses, we must build on each other's strengths. Because the real question is not who wins, but who can stand together. The future will belong not to those who guard their borders, but to those who build bridges of cooperation and trust. Now let us imagine what this collaboration can truly achieve. For example, what and pasta chain. When Russia's grains, Turkey's power, and Italy's brand strength come together, we can build a value chain that stretches from Eurasia to Mediterranean, feeding millions with quality and efficiency. Let's see what can be done out of the oilseeds and the plant oils. Russia provides raw material, Turkey refines them, and Italy ensures world-class quality. Together we create premium edible oil brands that compete globally. Greenhouse production, which is getting very, very important. Combining Turkey's production scale with Italian technology, we can bring climate-resilient, high-quality products to the Russian market. Olive oil cooperation could be another example. Turkey produces Italy brands, and Russia becomes a growing market, together creating a true Mediterranean story of quality, taste, and heritage. Each of these is more than a trade model. It's a vision of shared prosperity and shared security. Because when we invest in each other, we invest in our collective future. But our vision must rest on something deeper, ethics and ecology. Doing no harm can no longer be a passive wish. It must become an active way of living, producing and deciding. Our duty is not only to produce more, but to produce rightly, without harming nature, people, or the generations that follow. Nature does not ask for our charity. It simply asks that we stop causing harm. Let us then be like the sun, productive but gentle, powerful with compensate. Because the strongest nations of the future will not be those that produce the most, but those that produce responsibly and sustainably. The partnership between Turkey, Russia, and Italy can go beyond the economics. It can become a model of solidarity, sustainability, and peace. Because food is not just a product, it's a language of life, connecting the farmer's hand to the family's table, the earth's generosity to human dignity. If we can build a system rooted in trust, respect, and balance, we will achieve something far greater than trade. We will build a bridge of peace, one harvest, one partnership, one shared dream at a time. It is important today to talk about what will be the coming, not years, not months, but coming days the climate will bring us. So we need to act beyond the borders. And thank you for being here. Just we need for the food, we need to cross the borders. There shouldn't be any borders. We need to compensate each other. As a member of the company that have a joint venture with an Italian company, I know how the partnerships can make the good things out of it, because climate change really change our lives every day. We have difficulties with the water, we have difficulties with the production. Every month the capacities are changing, so we need to help each other to create our future, because if we will be out of the water, out of the soil, out of the production, there will be no humanity. Thank you very much, and hope that it will work better.
Melisa Hanım'a verdiği bilgiler için çok
So we thank Melisa Hanım for the information she has furnished us with. Now I would like to hand over to Mr. Orhan İğrek, chairman of İğrek Makina. So he is one of the most important and distinguished industrialists in Turkey. Machine production stands as an important field of focus for us in industry. So what could you tell us about the synergies we can create in this common platform together? Yes, please. Well, thank you very much, dear guests, dear friends. Well, Erdem Bey is a friend and brother of mine. About him I have been hearing compliments all the time, and he praised me in his introduction to me when he's talking about the industry and how important my position is there. But our age resets itself at 50, so that makes me 25 years old. And at 25 years of age, you cannot be a doyen of anything or the most important person of anything. But still, Italy, and I call it as the Soviet Federation, and Turkey. Well, this is a great platform where important countries in our geography have come together, because we have great need for this, from energy to agriculture, and even for political stability. We need such common ground for coming together. To make the long story short, I mean, from the perspective of an engineer, sometimes we do things wrongly from a political perspective as well. So what I say is that in the Far East we have a big country, a huge country, I have mentioned this previously as well, and we have another big country to our west as well. So these are two strong countries, but in between we have our geography and ourselves. Of course, when I talk about our geography, I'm talking about these two systems, and we are talking about growth as well. So what are they doing on our own geography? As my brother Erdem has already mentioned, well, he's a metallurgist, and as someone who has been directing and managing organizations for long years, sometimes we are kept outside of some heated discussions. So I came back from a travel of mine. So in the machine industry, we have a production, and in that industry we have very good relations with Italy, and we have an important share in the Italian cars. My son is also in the board, and he came back from South Italy recently, and I'm also back from Milan recently. So talking about these issues and considering our geography, it's a great example for all of us to have Italy and Turkey on this same platform. And I've started visiting Kazan, the city of Kazan in Tatarstan, very frequently now, because the Arabuga location has been under our focus for more than 10 years, but we were rather belated in going there. A friend of mine, a businessman, went there, and for the last 15 years they are printing and producing the car parts there, and they are just producing the casts weighing 2,500 tons, and in the production of the new Aurises we will be in Bursa, and our brotherhood will be even stronger. This is the wish of a 25-year-old industrial. Let's produce the new Aurs together, and the diplomats, the man of state and industrialists can just drive our local cars. As an industrialist and as someone who has served for all these brands, this is a great source of pride for me. But then I'm driving a Tog produced in my country, and some friend had asked me what car I'm using, and I told him, of course it's a Tog, because we are the ones who are producing the casts and for the car parks. And so I would like to mention a couple of things here. We keep hearing about sanctions, and there is this high level of, let's say, timidity going on. On the other hand, creating this synergy in the industrial area is very important. And in some areas we have dark clouds hanging above us, shadowing this kind of great potential and solidarity. We have great potential in our geography, and the rare earth minerals we have, like lithium, chrome. And 2 days ago I was in Uludağ, and we have great chrome facilities in Uludağ, and our Turkish companies can produce carbonized chrome there. So we exist in the machine industry, but personally speaking, exporting to the north, for example, We have our machine, which is already running, that produces parts of a war aircraft, which is important for the defense industry. And I'm talking about critical steel parts. So we are not doing things all the time. Sometimes we cannot do what we want to do. And a friend of mine asks me, if I will not be able to draw my retirement salary from the bank, what will happen? So there are questions like this which keep people's minds busy. And we need to create this sort of synergy in the defense industry and in the energy industries as well. And we have to do our best to do that. So with this opportunity on hand, I would like to extend my thanks for the organizers who've made this event possible and who brought the distinguished participants together here in this venue. I don't want to talk too much and take too much of your time. Yes, personally speaking, I have spent 45 years of my life on site, in factories, in the offices, and my life will be spent in this way. But once we will be focusing on these obstacles and be able to focus more on our potential opportunities and stay together, I believe that we will be able to create synergy, and we have to correct some things on our side as well. It was 1979 or 1980 when I came back to Turkey as a graduate from a European university. And let me share with you a critique with you. I have chosen to speak Turkish. So we have a company in that country, and our managers visit the country in question. Of course, I need to be there more frequently. But then what is happening is that I was like 19 or 20 years of age, and we land. This is Frankfurt Airport, and we are asked a number of questions like, do you have a return ticket? How long will you stay? And so on. So that very question, how long will you stay, is a wound to our geography. So I kindly ask our diplomats to resolve this issue, because be it the agricultural industry or the energy sector, or talking about rare minerals, we can create new synergies. Thank you for listening.
Orhan Bey'e çok teşekkür ediyoruz. 25 yaşında genç biri olarak azmini ve şevkini
We thank Orhan Bey for his speech. Of course, it's our responsibility to appreciate what you have done since the age of 20. Well, thank you. Now, I would like to hand over to Mr. Unkauf, Managing Director, Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade. So we will be listening to his speech on global stability and what steps should be taken to reinstate order in these areas. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished co-panelists, dear guests. Let me first of all express my sincere gratitude to the organizers, first and foremost Professor Antonio Fallico and the Associazione Conoscere Eurasia, as well as all the partners and speakers and sponsors of this forum. There are numerous, I won't name them all, for making this event possible. And let me please also reaffirm my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to the government and the people of the Republic of Turkey on the occasion of the 102nd founding day of the Republic of Turkey. You can be proud on your history, you can be proud on your civilizations, and I really enjoyed celebrating this occasion with you at your embassy in Berlin earlier this week. So the topic leads me to point of view that is located or that is related to the venue where we are located currently. I suppose many of you have flown in from Istanbul International Airport, and when the plane lands there, you are greeted with the words, "Welcome to Istanbul International Airport, meeting point of the world." And meeting point of the world is exactly what describes the location, the geostrategic location of Turkey, connecting Asia and Europe. Turkey is part of many interregional constellations, the Eastern Mediterranean area, the Black Sea region, the Greater Silk Road region, part of the Turkic world and founding part of the Turkic world and the organization of Turkic states, but also closely connected to the Middle East and bridging. We are behind a bridge that practically connects Europe and Asia. So my assessment of the topic of our panel is, what are the global trends or what are the international developments that are shaping the conditions under which business, especially manufacturing, productive business, is taking place? And this is not an exhaustive enumeration, but I will just try to outline some of the trends that we see from the perspective of a think tank focused on economic diplomacy and that has been active as a business association focused on family businesses since more than 22 years in more than 100 countries. So I think we're really living in an age where there is a renaissance. Let me quote Professor Fallico. He used the term renaissance earlier today, of productive economy in an era of multi or pluripolarity. And this is what is a challenge, but also an opportunity for every entrepreneurial assessment of today's world, is how to secure assets, but still growing under difficult circumstances. This is the questions businesses from all sectors of all sizes are facing. And there is not a clear answer to what to do, but I will try to outline a few pillars that may help to navigate in this framework. So one trend we currently see is there is a rising interregional integration and geopolitical competition, redefining global trade priorities and industrial priorities. So everybody talks about the war on tariffs and the current developments in global trade flows, but nobody is looking behind the scenes, or very few people are, what is really behind that. And let me again take the example of Turkey, as Turkey holds a very close cooperation with all the Central Asian countries and the countries of the South Caucasus, mainly Azerbaijan. There is an integrated system of how these regions and how these countries collaborate, and that has been growing in the past years. And with all the discussions about decoupling, de-risking, friendshoring, nearshoring, whoever you want to call this, that have been held in Europe, this has not been helpful in any way. This has not put us in a stronger position. In fact, the opposite is true. And this is my second point. This is why we need more economic diplomacy. Economic diplomacy means, to define it in one sentence, when politics is not able to build bridges anymore, business sector, corporates, business people can create spheres and platforms of understanding. And the Verona Eurasian Economic Forum, which is taking place for the 18th time now, which is a great success, is one of these dialogue platforms that we would need many more of. So also closely connected to economic diplomacy is the idea of strategic neutrality. And this does not mean that a country does not have its own position or its own point of view, but strategic neutrality rather means navigating according to their own interests in a complex framework without breaking up channels to others who may not agree on every single aspect in every question. So I think this is very important to navigate a serious assessment of foreign policy, also foreign economic policy nowadays. Reindustrialization is a global imperative, and we're living in an age where AI and digital opportunities are growing day by day. I'm not an AI or digital expert at all. I'm a historian. I'm rather conservative in this way, but I think it is very important to make the point we should control the technological development and not vice versa. This is, I think, a very crucial point that we should keep in mind. There is a crucial role that I see also for family businesses, and talking from a German perspective, where family businesses are far over 90% of all businesses, but family businesses also have a long tradition and a strong impact here in Turkey and in many other countries in Eurasia. So strengthening family businesses, and this also means having an assessment of deregulation instead of more regulation. So putting economy first instead of putting more institutional and regulating frameworks can also help to overcome the current challenges. Referring to the panel we had earlier today, I just want to highlight the idea of energy security and strategic autonomy, also security of supply, which is a crucial question for Europe, and Turkey is playing a key role in this regard as part of many transit ways of fossil fuels to Europe, on which we strongly depend and will continue to depend for decades. Believe it or not, so the Green Deal is going to be taken back, so, and the real economy, including the real energy, and this is fossil fuels, is going to be put back on the agenda. Currently, firms, and especially family businesses, are seeking to diversify their production networks, and as I said, we live in an age of multipolarity or pluripolarity, call it as you wish, but this brings opportunities to work in different parts of the world and to get interconnected in a business environment that can be adapted strategically. Therefore, it is important to keep contacts or to establish them in different parts of the world. There is, again, a renaissance of industrial growth that we would need in Europe. I see it in other parts of the world, but emerging markets are rarely located nowadays in Europe, as we say. Look at the current indicators of the German economy. I'm sorry to have no better news for you, but this is how it is currently. And last but not least, I think it is important to understand that decoupling from the global south, or the countries that are put under this label, means decoupling from the crucial emerging markets in nowadays world. And this should be written into the textbook of every politician in Europe, because decoupling is not a form of constructive dialogue. It does neither help in economic nor in political terms. So, to sum up, I think we need more cooperation instead of confrontation at all levels, political level, business level, but we need to overcome this through platforms of dialogue. And I see business as well as culture and arts in a key responsibility to provide these platforms for dialogue, such as we have it here at the Verona Eurasian Economic Forum. Thank you very much. Spasiba vam balshoye. Teşekkür ederim. Grazie mille.
Sayın Unkauf'a çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you so much, distinguished Unkauf. The last speaker is Mario Pietri, who is the Vice President of Confisi. And what should be the new route of Europe? We would like to give the floor to him. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this event, Professor Fallico, and all the speakers who took the floor before me, and all the sessions that we've heard that have been very important to learn information, which I will then bring back to my country and the entrepreneurs we represent. Of course, it's important that the economy goes back to the production sector. But the situation in Italy is very different from what we've heard the situation is in Turkey or in the Russian Federation. We have a situation whereby the industrial production has been undergoing a crisis for decades now. Why? Well, because an ideological choice was made. Therefore, finance replaced production. There is no growth without production, though. There are no salaries, no wages, there are no goods to be sold. Growth in my country stemmed from the collaboration with the East, with the Soviet Union. The energy coming from the Soviet Union enabled my country to achieve an unprecedented industrial growth after the Second World War, when the country was completely destroyed. Now, a different choice was made more recently, and it is now gradually destroying our industrial sector. Industrial production has been decreasing for 20 straight months, and this is a very important detail, and there is no foreseen change for the future because, as I was saying, both my country and the whole of Europe has dismantled its own foundation for prosperity through ideological choices. But you can't build your sovereignty on imported kilowatts. The example of Turkey with their power plants and the example of energy hubs are a case in point. In this historic phase that is so difficult, Turkey has been able to become a natural hub between the Russian Federation and Italy, between the West and the East, and it is doing so very well indeed. So when going back to Italy, we will share with our political representatives what we've learned here. Of course, we cannot truly influence their decisions, but we can try, and we will highlight the need for a change, because without the low-cost energy coming from the East, we will never have the possibility to change the current trends, and the future will be very bleak. Energy should go back to its natural role. And we need a language made of cooperation, not sanctions. Gas pipelines are tools and means for development, and so going back to cooperating with the East does not mean to become subjected to others. It just means to go back to a new redesigning of the world. There will be other corridors, our ways to communicate, and even Italy has opportunities thanks to its geographical position, just like Turkey, because of its place in the Mediterranean, as well as for the historic and industrial ties with Northern Africa and the whole of Africa. Of course, Africa is an important potential development hub for the future, but without energy and without natural resources, we will never exploit them. There will be no future. If we keep going this way, we'll just try and manage the situation, which is bound to decline. Corridors are not just infrastructures. Of course, it's wonderful to look at these infrastructures and which show us that this is the actual directions to go into, but they are signs of a real economy. They're not philosophical reconstructions or ideas. Prosperity comes from movement, from action, not from division. and no strategy can survive without people. The world of work in Europe is imploding. Demographics see an aging of the population and a high social fragmentation. And through our academy, we try and provide training to Northern African workers in Italy. We try to bring them to Italy through a migration flow that is managed, and people are always people. They always need to be the focus of the economic activity. This is a silent border. But if capitals can move around and people cannot, then there is a problem. And of course, I understand how frustrating it could be to land in an airport and not be welcomed. If this happens, it means something is not working. It means that the rules we have set for ourselves in the EU are not working. And so we need to analyze the situation and understand that we need a different direction to head into. Italy, of course, must collaborate with Turkey because, as I was saying, Turkey is a natural hub, and especially at this time, in order to cooperate and rebuild those corridors that are so needed, we need to keep cooperating with Turkey. And Turkey can be a bridge. Also, from a logistical point of view and a trade point of view, it can be a bridge for products coming from other countries as well. The Eurasian space is not a threat, and it is the geography of the future. Europe must leave behind this illusion of being the center. We need multipolarism. And I say this to fellow Italians and the other EU citizens in this hall. We need to leave behind the idea that our culture is center. We need to open up to the visions and cultures of others. We have no other way, no other alternative. Our future is at stake, and I really say this with passion and with concern, because that's what I feel and what I hear every day from the companies and the enterprises we represent. For example, in the automotive sector, in the chemical sector, in the plastics sector, people are concerned. There has been a decline. So Europe must choose whether it wants to just stay on the side of history, or if it wants to take possession of the tools of energy and natural resources. So the future will not be decided in the committees, but in ports, in laboratories, in training rooms, where reality is built every day. Of course, we need leaders who have the courage to say no to inertia, and that because the real economy needs a vision, which is lacking, unfortunately, especially in strategic terms. It requires energy and responsibility. And let me close with not a quote, but an invitation. Innovation without roots becomes propaganda. Cooperation without equality becomes colonialism. But when both meet based on respect, there we have the future.
Well, we would like to thank Mr. Pietri for his remarks. So that ends our session. The Eurasian geography has great potential indeed, and the real sector in terms of production is even more important and more highlighted in terms of the potentials. So creating these kinds of synergies is a critical issue for our geography, and these platforms will help a lot. So first of all, I would like to thank you to our speakers for their speeches and wish you a fruitful forum. Thank you. Sorry, please.